Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very high-class event. Very inspiring so far. Springtime seems to be my time for inspiration, as exactly 1 year ago on the 29th of March around noon I was in an airplane to San Francisco together with 40 other DAX 40 CIOs to have a little tour through the Silicon Valley. And yesterday in the GDT Villa, we had kind of little chats. Is that inspired by the Silicon Valley? Is it the same size, or is it at least something similar to it? What I got as an inspiration was there's knowledge, there's capital, and there's scaling opportunities together here in this room. So I think we can make a lot of it for the German economy. My name is Andreas Hamprecht. I'm CIO and CDO of Deutsche Bahn Regio, and Deutsche Bahn Regio is one of the large business units within the Deutsche Bahn corporation. We run all red trains. That is maybe the easy picture. We run also S-Bahn, Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, just to mention the big five. Many people don't know we run around 15,000 buses in Germany, also well renowned to be red. That is buses running in rural areas. So our business is commuting, is mass transit, is day by day or daily transportation needs. And of course, our main competition is the car, as the car has a lot of advantages against public transport. We have a couple of advantages as well, and we will try to strengthen that. I'm talking about business transformation at scale because as Deutsche Bahn, we have, of course, done a lot of experimenting, a lot of POCs. We have an AI factory. We are quite advanced in data analytics, and we have experimented with all, let's say, digital approaches to how to transform a large, long legacy corporation. But what is the next chapter to be opened? How can we use this experience and manage a business transformation for the whole corporation, what I would call a business transformation at scale? Of course, that is to do with digital technology, and of course, that is to do with all areas of a business, but it's, of course, much more than just implementing new technologies. What I find mainly important is the integration of a digital transformation and a good understanding where your certain industry is in that process. As public transportation, we are not a first mover. We are most of the time, sometimes fast, sometimes rather slow follower. That means there's a lot of companies that failed before us, and we can try to learn from it. We have seen a lot of digital transformation in industries like the music, like entertainment, like media, which completely shaped and sometimes surprised these industries. And what we are trying to do is to recognize where we stand and to shape this process proactively. We can do so because digital transformation in the transportation segment is just at its peak or close before its peak. So we expect it to happen exactly now and in the next 5 years. I have a personal legacy within Deutsche Bahn. So in two days, I will have my 22nd anniversary in Deutsche Bahn. And 10 of these years I spent as Chief Strategy Officer in different departments. So what I can combine is it's certain strategic, let's say, experience combined with digital transformation. And that's what we are trying to do now proactively at Deutsche Bahn Regio. We have a corporate strategy, the strong rail. I mean, that's very simple but clear. That means rail is the mean of transportation we would like to develop such that it can contribute to the targets of an eco-friendly or carbon-neutral transportation in Germany. And commuting, of course, is one of the big levers where carbon-neutral and shared mobility can be implemented. For our segment, a growth of 30% is predicted until 2030, so in the next 7 years. And these 30% mean that where we have today like 6 to 7 million rides per day, or annually 2.6 billion rides, there will be 3.6 billion rides, or 10 million a day, in 2030. And how this feels, we had the chance to have a good live experiment during last summer, when there was the so-called €9 ticket, a very cheap ticket, a flat rate approach, what made access to public transport very easy and cheap, and it boosted demand by roughly 30%, so exactly that value that we are aiming for or predicting for 2030. And it was quite interesting because it allowed us to get a feeling for all the bottlenecks that will appear when demand will grow at its targeted peak in 2030. So strong rail is our contribution to growth in public transport. And of course, we don't want to achieve that only by being cheap. We want to achieve that, of course, by being more easy. So that is something that needs to be further developed. But on the other hand, we want to achieve that by being more attractive and more competitive against cars, which are the main competitive mean. And how can we do that? Regional transport means that there is very strong backbones in the cities and on main routes in and out of the cities, but there is a very weak and outdated or low quality offer in the rural areas. If we ever try to get end-to-end by public transport from, let's say, Munich to somewhere in Brandenburg, not Potsdam-Griebnitzsee, but really Brandenburg, like, I don't know, maybe Lüchen or maybe Zedenick. Yes, you can get there 3 times a day by a bus that will hopefully run as scheduled, and that you will hopefully not miss when arriving in Fürstenberg-Havel, where you can hop on it. So that is a risk, yes, you can take, but you will probably not take it if there's the opportunity to just go door to door by your own car. So that is our competition, our challenge to face. How can we improve the door-to-door connection at a high frequency, at least at the demanded frequency, and at a reliability that will make you comfortable during your whole ride, that the connections will function and you will arrive your target as scheduled. We need, especially for this in the rural area, a completely new and different way of producing public transport. And that is something that has to do with on-demand traffic with smaller units, so not long buses for, let's say, 30, 40 persons, but small units from, let's say, 6 to 12. And that is, of course, to do with cost savings, as there will be no driver costs once autonomous cars are available. And they will be available. The first dozen of cars is just about to be shipped from the United States to Germany, where we'll have a piloting in the next months in Darmstadt and Offenbach. Don't ask me why Offenbach, but maybe just to have the hard road credibility. And in the end of this year, there will be targeted homologation for this kind of public transport. And then, step by step, we have to convince our authorities, which are responsible for ordering public transport, to apply those concepts in a broader scale. This type of making the product more flexible and more demand-oriented, of course, needs digitalization. It needs not only digitalization of the way cars or rides are produced, but also of the way how customers can get access to it, how they will purchase it, how they will be informed during the ride, and how after-sales services will be provided. And of course, digitalization is based on IT, and that's a low-brainer in this audience. IT is kind of the pacemaker for digitalization in this context. So what I would like to just to address for a digital transformation proactively and at scale needs, from my perspective, a very strong interlink of the corporate strategy, of the digital let's say, skills and possibilities or chances and threats that arise, and of course a sound IT foundation that is, at least for my company, not given in each and every case. So clear, so simple in terms of a playbook. However, the reality is a bit different. When I started my current assignment as a CIO at Deutsche Bahn Regio some 3 years ago, I had a grown legacy base, and I had only a small team of some 25 IT management people that at a minimum a necessary level kept the installed bases up and running. Of course, that is not a basis where you can build on to implement such a strategy and such a digital transformation. On the other hand, there are some urgent needs. We were kritisch, that means observed by the Bundesamt for Sicherheit in der Informationstechnik, so our authority for IT security, federal authority for cybersecurity, and they didn't ask us to set up a digital transformation strategy and then start with IT security, but of course they asked, well, we start from scratch and right now with IT security. So what I want to say is that what I showed as a clear hierarchy in corporate strategy, digitalization, and IT, of course, in practice is kind of interlinked and managed iteratively. And you have to do everything at the same time and shape the pattern step by step. So we started with IT security, and here we had, of course, first of all, just to get aware of possible weaknesses and potential attacks, and just to set up a very operative fending structure, and then at the same time do our fitness program towards a more systematic approach to meet with the criteria set by our federal authority for cybersecurity. So that was actually the first thing that needed to be done, and the first ramp up in resources. Then secondly, we have scanned our installed bases of legacy IT systems, and there we had the typical situation that department by department had set up their IT systems. And when I wanted to do some database analysis or some database end-to-end processes, of course, we met a lot of inconsistencies between data, of data quality issues and stuff like that. But to achieve sound databases for steering and furthermore for advanced analytics, we had to kind of mess up with this situation and build on the installed IT basis some systematic approach of how to deal with data. Today it is looking like this, that we have still very diverse data sources from very old legacy until the latest installations. But then the layers above are kind of sorting and assuring that the data can be harmonized, can be quality assured, and can be made fit for analytic purposes. We did that very use case oriented, so we didn't put all data in one big pot and then saw what we can do with it. We did that very use case oriented. And the first and still my favorite use case was to build a kind of navigation system for our train conductors that can give them an optimization between punctuality and energy consumption. As we are still running a lot of diesel trains, that could save us like 7 to 8% of diesel just by telling the train conductors, well, you're punctual enough to let your train just roll into the next station and stop traction for the moment. Yeah, and then more and more use cases landed here today. We have a kind of a complete view on the major business functions that can drill down and drill up and condense also management information up to the top management, but also it can serve for day-by-day operation and quality steering issues, and this is secured by a lot of data governance and very structured tools and processes. So, and then actually as a third approach, we step by step went through our installed IT bases and gave it a new architecture. Of course, it all started with isolated legacy IT systems. The new and common logic means rather looking end-to-end according to our main business processes, and also to have a more capsuled and modular approach to distinguish between the let's say, operations level and the data layer, and all kind of these modern architecture principles. The target will be to have a complete modular architecture and to come into in a product mode so that the main IT applications can be developed by dedicated teams, which then can speed up in process towards regular deployments and a very strong interconnection between business demand and IT delivery. Today, we are at a scale of roughly 130 IT people in my department. That means we have scaled up by a factor 5 in the last 3 years, and there's another 130 external developers and partners directly steered by my team. I expect this to further grow by another roughly 100 or 200 people in the next 5 years. And when we have set up our strategy to have increased our transportation volume by 30% as of 2030, I expect that there will be like 200 or 300 IT developers resident in Deutsche Bahn Regio, because this ecosystem for new mobility is something that you cannot find at the market, where we are still a market leader in and where we want to keep a competitive advantage. And then I think the concepts that we heard here, like industrialization of IT production and IT development, will be very relevant to us today. It is a very good inspiration for me, and I'm very much looking forward to further exchange of thoughts and most probably also to further cooperation. Thank you very much.